All right. Hi, everyone. Hello. Hi. Welcome to Ten Analytics, our a tech series, a masterclass tech series, Ten Analytics. All right. So this is one of the tech series that we engage in pretty much week in, week out. All right. And we are bringing these are high in demand skill. All right. These are high in demand, career paths. What are the high in demand career paths out there, tech career paths that you can transition into, that you can get into. So we, host weekly webinars, tech series and master classes week in, week out to bring the exposure, to everyone out there. Okay, so you can come in, you can pretty much learn how a particular tool is being used, okay, in a very quick 1 hour, masterclass session where you pick some of the basics, and then hopefully that, is able to motivate you to want to get into it proper and be able to enjoy all its benefits. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. And so Blessed, please, could you give me access to share my screen, Blessed? Thank you. So I'm going to go ahead and share, what we have for this evening. Okay, so before I go ahead, okay, I think we have quite a bit people on the call, right, on this session this evening. So what you want to do is you want to go ahead and feel very, very comfortable and introduce yourself. So I would like us to drop our name and where we're joining this session from, in the chat. So you can go ahead and throw your name. So is it John from England, right? And is it Mary from Scotland? Do we have Joseph from the US? Do we have, Chooks from Ghana? Do we have Jumoke from Nigeria? So you can go ahead and, just drop your name and, where you're joining from in the chat. So let's just get really comfortable as we get started. So, okay, I can see David from Abuja, Nigeria. Hi, David. You are welcome to the session. Okay, you're very welcome to the session, David. All right, so let's keep that coming in. All right, so I can see Abigail from Ondo State, Nigeria. Hi, Abigail. You're very welcome to the session. You are very welcome. So let's keep that coming in. Okay, so you want to throw, we haven't done, anything so far. Jumoke from Scotland. Wow, I was mentioning Scotland. All right, I had no idea someone was from Scotland. Mary from England. Okay. I hope that's exactly, because I think that I was saying all of those things. Okay, so that's fantastic. Let's have all of those coming in. Let's feel pretty comfortable, okay, as we get into what we have for today. So what are we going to be doing today? What are we learning today? What are we going to be, getting exposed to today? So we are going to be building a real-time e-commerce data processing pipeline as an AWS cloud engineer. Okay, so we're building a data processing pipeline. Okay, so this session is tilted towards people that have some sort of passion for data engineering. Okay, cloud architecture. So you've heard of AWS, Azure. You've heard of GCP. All right, you've heard of how to use Python tools to be able to create, pipelines, and all these things around, creating a database. If you're someone who has been exposed to any of those before, all right, then the data engineering program is something that you really want to consider, because again, you want to be able to enjoy or, benefit from a structured training approach. That way you are able to, your dreams of landing, excuse me, please. So your dreams of landing your your dream jobs, right, would come to a fruition. Okay, but you need a structured approach, and that is where we come in, here with this, master class. All right. So so before we actually delve into what we have to do, all right, now the recording of this entire session and the resources that we are going to be making use of, right? The PowerPoint slide. I'm going to be bringing a seasoned data engineer, on with me this evening, and she's going to be the one who's going to be running us through a complete, demo, all right, of how we can actually build a data pipeline. Okay, and so all of these resources are going to be made available to us at the end of the session, but we have to fill in the attendance form that is being passed in the chat. So there is an attendance form that is being passed on the chat. Okay, so that attendance form gives us access to be able to send you all of these resources, the recordings, and the slides. All right. So do well to fill in that attendance form, and let's get started, with what we have for today. So now, a very quick one about Analytics. Okay, very, very quick one. So who are we? All right, what do we do? All right, what do we stand for? So we are a leading tech firm, all right, focused on providing specialized training in technology skills and delivering comprehensive data consulting services. Now, what do I mean by that? In a very, very abridged version, what I'm trying to say is this: we exist to bridge the gap between, your classroom experience and you transitioning or landing a tech role. So a lot of people are fresh off from the university, and the job market is really looking like a big hurdle to them. Okay, it's a different mentality, it's a different also spirit, from what is obtainable in the academia, right? And the job market. Literally, it's absolutely different. Okay, so you have two parallel lines. So you need the exposure, you need the right mindset to be able to dominate and conquer the job market. And that is where we come in here at Analytics. We're going to train you. Okay, we're going to train you as to how to possess the right soft skills, the right hard skills, and then the right employability skills to give you that advantage and that leverage to be able to land a job amongst a lot of people. And how do we achieve this? Okay, we achieve this through our numerous course offerings ranging from data analytics to business analysis, data engineering, which we'll be speaking on tonight. Okay, data science, financial analytics, HR analytics, cybersecurity, all right, and Agile project management, Scrum Master. Now, these 8 programs, they are the programs that we offer at Analytics, and they are the programs that we've helped over 2,000 people to transition into the tech space from the classroom or from a non-tech background. So the idea is you don't need to have a tech background to land a tech job, and that is why we exist. So we teach you how to be able to get all of that, in place. All right, so what's the next thing? Okay, just a very, very quick one about me. All right, so I will be facilitating this session and upselling. My name is Mobolaji Faluba. I'm a data scientist and MLOps engineer with half a decade of experience in data analytics and AI engineering. My experience span data science and MLOps, simplified UX, USA, data analytics, Moise Consulting, Canada, and AI engineering, Zara Health Limited, Nigeria. So I've worked in the health sector, I've worked in financial services, in the ed tech sector also. Okay, so now this is where things get really interesting. I'm going to be bringing, a seasoned data engineer, right up, and she's going to do justice in helping us, okay, to be able to build a data pipeline. So for those that are absolutely new to this, all right, for those that have, a bit knowledge, there's always something to gain. There's always something that, you can learn. All right, so Taiwo, can you hear me? Welcome to the session.
Hi, hi Mobalaji, thank you so much. Hi everyone. So I'll just share my screen for, okay, I can just share my screen. All right. Okay. All right. So hi everyone. Hello everyone. I'm so excited to be here. Right. My name is Taiwo. My name is Taiwo, and I'll be the one facilitating this session. So I'm a highly skilled data professional with over 5 years of experience in data engineering, data analysis. I also have experience in ETL processes, data warehousing. I'm also working with cloud platforms, and my experience spans across like different industries, technology, fintech, FMCG, telecommunications, and entertainment. And I've consistently leveraged data to drives strategic decision making. All right. So that's just a bit about me. And going forward, what we're going to be doing today. So we're going to be building a real-time e-commerce data processing pipeline as an as a AWS cloud engineer, and then we'll move into how you can get started in the data space immediately. Okay, and we also have some success stories which will show you also that if they can do it, you can also do it, and then we get started into the special discount. So yes, let's just get into the case study project that we have for today. So we'll be looking at shop flow analytics. So shop flow analytics. Okay, if you can hear me clearly, please can you let me know? Just put a 1 in the chat box. If you can hear me clearly, just put a 1 in the chat box. All right, I can see some people already putting 1 there. All right. So let's proceed. So yeah, shop flow analytics is a growing e-commerce analytics company that they provide real-time insights to their online retailers. They also help businesses track customer behavior, product performance, and sales trends across multiple channels. Okay, so they process transaction data from various e-commerce platforms what they need right now is a scalable automated pipeline to deliver these insights quickly to their applications. So what's the problem statement? Like I said, what they're currently doing is manual batch uploads, and it's just resulting in delayed insights, data quality issues. There's also scalability challenges right there. So they want to be able to solve this problem. So what's the way forward? So the rationale for this project is a cloud-based ETL pipeline using AWS, and this will allow Shopflow to automate data ingestion from the e-commerce data source, process the data using serverless compute, and store this data efficiently in S3 for fast querying and also cost optimization, and also allow for instant analytics. So the aim of the project is automated data processing, data transformation, cloud storage, automated schema detection, and real-time analytics. So we'll be looking at all of this hands-on as we get started into it. So the tech stack we'll be using is, we'll be getting our data from an API, and we're using Python to write the ETL code, and Lambda, we'll be using Lambda function in AWS. This will be the main ETL. This is what we use for the main ETL pipeline, and then we use Amazon S3 and also Amazon Antenna. So this is the architecture this is just the flow of what we'll be doing. So the data is coming in from the API for products mainly, and we're using ETL to AWS Lambda to write an ETL function to extract this data, process it, and load it into S3. And then we use AWS Glue Crawler to crawl the data in S3 buckets to automatically create our table that can make this data queryable in Antenna. So this is just like a very simplified flow of showing you what we're going to do today. All right, so let's just get started. So I'll just share my the screen. All right, so this is the AWS console. Here, as you can see, this is AWS console, and the API we'll be working with is this dummy JSON data that has this product information. Okay, all this product information, this is what we're going to be working with. So we're going to extract data from here and process it. You see, right now, you can't even understand what you're seeing in this data. It's very unstructured, very messy, and we can't get anything from this data. We can't get anything from this data. So that's your work as a data engineer, okay? You get the messy data, you get extract data from wherever it is in the raw form, and you do some transformations, you process it, and then you look at where it's going to be used. The data analyst comes to query the data, deriving insights, or even the data scientists coming to build machine learning models to predict sales, okay? So let's get started. This is the AWS console. The first thing we want to do is create our S3 bucket. our storage, right? Like I mentioned, we need somewhere to store this data that's coming in. So we want to create the S3 buckets, and you can search for it, or you can just click here and you have like a list, but you can just pick from this. All right, so this is the S3 bucket. So what I'll just do is create a bucket. I'll click on create a bucket. Create bucket here. Okay, and you want to give your bucket a name. Okay, so you can just give shop flow ETL. Shop flow ETL. And you can leave every other thing as it is. You can leave every other thing as it is and just click on create buckets. Okay. Okay, seems like the name is taken. So, okay, invalid character. So just, okay, so try again. Create buckets. So it's creating, and yes, our bucket has successfully created. So we have the shop flow ETL bucket here. As you can see, we don't have anything inside this bucket. It's empty, right? So now the next thing we want to do is we need permissions. Now, this is very, very important, especially when you're working in cloud or when you're even working with data, right? Not everybody can have access to data. And even when you're using these services, you want to create role-based permissions to allow these services talk to each other. Okay, because we're going to make use of Lambda, we're going to make use of Antenna, we're going to make use of Glue. How are these services going to communicate with each other? Through these permissions, okay? Through these permissions. So we're allowing Lambda to read from our S3 bucket. We're allowing Lambda to write to our S3 bucket. You see, there's a communication there. So if we don't give this permission, if we don't create these roles to give these permissions, you won't be able to do all this, okay? So the next thing we want to do is create roles that would allow these services communicate to each other. So just, you can search for it, where you see I am, yes, I am. So I'll just open that in a new tab. All right, so this is the this is just in charge of identity and access management, okay? Who has access to this service? So when you have multiple users and you just want this, maybe this particular user to have access to only this service, or you want some permissions, you want to set some permissions for some services, this is where you do all that. Okay, so what we're going to do now is to create a role. Okay, so click on roles. And we'll click on create role. Click on create role. Okay, and then we'll leave it as AWS service because we're creating this role for AWS service to use AWS service, right? So we'll leave it at that. And then we'll pick Lambda because it's Lambda, we're actually specifically for Lambda. We're creating this role specifically for Lambda function. Okay, so we'll click the Lambda and then we'll click next. Okay, so after creating the role, you now want to attach policies. Now, these are like now the main permissions you are attaching. So these are pre-written permissions that you would need to attach to this role so that you can make use of Lambda and it can communicate to your S3 buckets, okay? So the first, well, we need access to Lambda. So I'll just search for it, AWS Lambda. Okay, so this is what I'm looking for, the AWS Lambda execution role. So I'll click on this. We also need permission to be able to read and write to S3. So I'll also search for Amazon S3. Okay, so I will just click, this is Amazon S3 full access, okay? Full access. So if you're working in a production setting, you may not want to you may be more restrictive, you may not give full access, but for this purpose, I'll just give full access so we can have the full permission to S3. So I'll pick this and then click on next. Okay, so the next thing we want to do is give our role a name, okay? Give our role a name. So shop flow lambda role. All right. So after that, you want to create your role finally. So right now, our lambda function that we're going to work with now can securely access our S3, whatever is in our S3, it can securely access it. So one thing you want to always think about when you're working in the cloud, working as a data engineer or cloud engineer, is security first always. Security first always. Okay, that's very important. So what's the next thing we want to do? We've created our bucket. We've assigned permissions. We've created a role for permissions. Now we want to get into it. Let's get to building our Lambda ETL function, okay? So I would come here also. You can search for it. And I'll just click on Lambda, open this in a new tab. All right, so this is the Lambda interface, right? Now, this is what I'm actually going to do, like the main data processing, okay? So Lambda is, when you hear Lambda is like a serverless compute, okay? It does not have any background servers. There are no servers for you to manage. And the good thing is, it's actually very cheap. I'll just use the word, like it's not so expensive. You only pay for the execution time. That is the time it's used to execute your code. So all you just need to do is write your code, and AWS handles everything for you. It runs it for you, and you only pay for the execution time, no servers to manage. So Lambda is a serverless compute, and that's what we're going to be using for our pipeline today. So create a function. Okay. So we give our function a name. We can give it shop flow ETL. And use ETL pipeline. ETL, shop flow ETL pipeline. Now, the runtime we're going to be using is Python, right? We're going to be using Python. So you can use any version, or use 3.11, okay? And then, don't forget we already created a role for this, right? For Lambda, specifically for Lambda. So now we want to attach that role right here, because if we don't do that, you would run into errors and it will even run, like, so we'll just say we use an existing role, and then we'll search for what we created, okay? This is what we created, the shop flow Lambda role, and we'll pick that. And then you can leave every other thing as it is, and then we'll create our function. All right, so this is where we're going to be writing our code. Okay, this is where we're going to be creating our function, okay? So before that, so this is where we're going to be writing our code. So I'll just clear this out. I'll just clear that out, yeah. So before that, we're going to be importing some libraries. Normally, when you're using Python for your ETL, you want to import some libraries, like especially when we're making use of API, right? We're going to make use of requests. Now, request is a library that is used to send HTTP requests to web servers. Don't forget, I showed you what this is our web server. So let me just write this. Give me a minute, please. Okay. So don't forget, this is our server, right? This is our server. Now we want to use requests to send HTTP requests to the web server so that we can ask it for data. We can get this data. Okay, so request is a library in Python. So we want to be able to use that library, we want to be able to import that library and other libraries that we're going to use. But to be able to do that, we need to, because Lambda is lightweight by default. It does not include every Python library. Okay, so we need, for example, we need pandas for our data processing transformation. We also need requests. Okay, so to be able to do that, to be able to add that, we'll scroll down where you see layers, you add a layer. You want to click add a layer, you leave it as AWS layers, and you click on this drop down. So you search for where you see Python. So this AWS SDK pandas Python 3.11 is what you pick. Okay, and then you just pick the latest version. Okay, and then you add. So this layer that we just added right now contains like gigabytes of libraries. Okay, but the beauty of, like I said, Lambda is serverless, so we're not going to get charged for the storage or the memory. Even if we have so much things there, we only get paid. You only get charged for the execution time, and sometimes it's not even up to $1. Is very, very affordable. Okay, so that's the beauty about serverless compute. So after doing that, we can now get into the actual ETL pipeline. Okay, we can get into the actual ETL pipeline. So who's excited for this pipeline? Let me see. Okay, before we continue, let me see. Who is excited to get started into writing the code? Drop a one, drop a one. Drop a one if you're looking forward to the code. Okay, David. I see it's only David that is excited for the code. Nobody else is excited for this ETL pipeline. All right, Seun said, okay, all right. So let's get into it. Let's get into it. Let's get into it. All right, so the first thing we want to do is we want to import the libraries we're going to make use of. We want to import the libraries we're going to make use of. Okay, so we're going to say import. The first library we're importing is JSON. Why are we importing JSON? This data that is coming from the web server through API always comes in JSON format. This right here is in JSON format. This right here is in JSON format. Okay, so we want to be able to import the library so that we can be able to handle this data that is coming in. Okay, that is in JSON format. So we're going to import JSON. We're also going to import something called Boto3. Now this Boto3 is is used for services like S3 buckets, right? When you want to make uploads to upload data to the S3 buckets, this is the library for it in Python, okay? The SDK library for it in Python. Next, we want to import the request we've been talking about. Import request. Okay. Next, we want to import pandas, which will be using for our data transformation. So import pandas as PD. So PD is just like an alias, a nickname for it. So we don't have to write the pandas in full. And then lastly, we'll be importing datetime so that we can work with date-related data, okay, like time or getting the current time. That's why we're importing the datetime, okay? So the next thing we want to do, is to set up our connection to the S3 bucket, okay? We want to set up our connection to the S3 bucket, okay? So don't forget, we imported this library for S3 bucket, right? So now we want to actually set up a connection to S3 bucket using this Boto3, right? So I'll say S3 equal to Boto3, okay? Client, and then the S3. Okay, so what it's doing is that it's creating a connection to your AWS S3 service. Okay, saying, okay, I want to work with S3, and you are going to grant me this connection. Okay, you're going to grant me this permission to work with S3. Okay, so this is you establishing that connection. Okay, so after doing that, we can now get fully into our pipeline function. Okay, we can get fully into our pipeline function. So the next thing we want to do is write a function, create a function, a defined function. That's what we call it in Python. And when you want to create a function, you start by using the def. Sorry, you start by using the def as defined function, right? And then you use the lambda handler. Now, what does this lambda handler does? It's the main function actually that AWS runs. Don't forget, I told you earlier that all you just need to do is write your code. AWS handle everything for you behind the scene, right? But to be able to do that, you need to use this main function so that AWS Lambda will be able to run this code for you, okay? So by convention, this is the name you use, Lambda handler. So Lambda handler, and then you have the event and the context. Okay, the event and then the context. And then we can get started into what we want to. So the event and context is they're just like special arguments that you provide AWS, okay, for the function to execute. Now we can get started into extracting our data. Okay, so the first thing we want to do is write a print statement saying that, okay, we're starting the ETL process, okay? We're starting the ETL process. So extracting data from API. Extracting data from API. So I'll just try to use a comment. So it's good to comment your code for clear documentation. Extract data. Okay. So now, don't forget, I said we're using a library to make a request to our web server, right? Now, what we want to do is use a variable name to store this, what is coming in from this web server, right? So we're going to store it in response. But don't forget, you're making a request, so you want to get a response. So we're actually saving it in the response, okay? And we're going to use requests, request dot get, okay? And then you want to specify the URL. You want to specify the URL. So what I'm going to do is just open this and copy this URL and then paste it here. Okay, so this is the URL we're working with, okay? So this is what you're making a request to, and then you're getting back a response. You're getting back a response, okay? Okay, so after doing that, we now want to, that response you're getting, don't forget, is the data and it's coming in JSON. So we want to store that in a variable name called data. Okay, I say, okay, if the response is successful, it's okay, get this response you're getting, this data, we're storing it in this data variable. Okay, so that data now is stored in this data variable where I have data. Okay, so if I want to extract this data or work with this data, is this data I'm going to use. Okay, now the next thing we're going to do is, don't forget, we're working with products data. We're working with products data. Okay, I want to, because this is in JSON format, so I want to wrap this in a product, more like a list. Okay, so what we want to do now, so I'll say products equal to the data that is storing this data, and then we're singling out the product. So if I show you this, so if you look at this data, what are you seeing first here? What I highlight here, you're seeing products, right? This product. Now, if you notice, this product is the start of everything. It's the start of everything. From here, this old data is wrapped under this product. So this is how JSON works. This is how JSON format works. Okay, it works in like a key value pair. Okay, so this is key. Don't worry, in the training program, we'll go into detail with all this if you join the training program. So a key is what stores the value. Okay, and now the code we're writing is we're actually picking out that key that contains all the data. That key alone. Okay, that key, that's the product. The products. Okay, so now I've singularly extracted the data through this key products. Okay, we don't have to start reading through the data and say, okay, we want this, we want this. We've extracted everything using that product key in the JSON. Okay, so now we can now end our extract part. So we'll just write a print statement saying successfully extracted data from API. Okay. All right, so what's the next thing we want to do? We've extracted data successfully. We want to transform this data. So I write a print statement transforming data, right? Now, if you look at this data is actually very large, adds so many columns. You have the ID, you have the title, you have the description, right? You have the, let me see, what other, the weight, the school, the brand, you have reviews. So, like so many columns. Well, the purpose of this class, we just want to pick out the key columns we're going to be working with, okay? The key columns, like the ID, the title, the category, the price, the ratings, key things that we need for insights, okay? So before then, we want to convert our data into a data frame. Don't forget, I told you this data is coming in JSON, right? Now we want to be able to convert it to a data frame. What is a data frame? Now, a data frame is used in pandas, is like Excel. I'm sure if you're familiar with Excel, you know how it is in rows and columns, right? That is exactly what a data frame is. So data frame, pandas data frame is like Excel for programmers, right? That is what a data frame is. So we want to be able to convert this data. This data, we want it in rows and columns. We want it in rows. We want it in a structure table in summary, okay? We want it in a structure table in summary. Okay, and to do that, we'll do df, assign it to a variable, and we'll say df pd. This pd is the pandas we imported last time, right? And convert it using the data frame, and then this product is what we have here. Okay, so we're converting this product to a data frame. We're converting the product to a data frame. Okay, so after doing that, we can now select the key columns we want to work with. So select key columns. Okay, so we have the title, we have the price, we have the rating, we have the stock, we have the brand, we have the category. So we can just leave this as it is. Okay, those are actually very key columns. We can also add the sorry, we can also add the ID. Okay, so let me just add the ID. All right, so these are the key columns we'll be working with. We can also add other columns, but I'll leave this for now. So there's so many columns there. You have the discount percentage. So many columns, okay? But for the purpose of this demonstration, I will just stick to these key columns, okay? Now, after doing this, after specifying these key columns, what do you want to do? So, okay, let me just stop doing this. Okay, I can just leave this at this, yeah. All right, so the next thing we want to do is, if they're missing values, we want to be able to handle these missing values. Okay, we want to be able to handle these missing values. Okay, so probably for the price and the stock, we can fill these missing values with 0. Fill missing values with 0. So I'll say df.fill now. So fill now is used to fill missing values, fill null values. Okay, it's used to fill null values. And since we're specifying only for price and for stock, we would highlight it there. So price, okay, fill with 0. I'm saying fill with 0, and also for the stock, fill with 0. Fill with 0. If you notice, this 0 is not in quotes, right? Because it's dealing with numbers, integer right here, all numbers, okay? So this is in quotes, but this is not in quotes, okay? And then, because we're not assigning this back to a variable, we're saying make this edit, do this in place, like don't assign it back to a variable. If we're assigning back to a variable, we'll just do df equal to, but because we're not assigning back to a variable, we'll just do in place equal true, okay? As simple as ABC, as simple as ABC, okay? All right, so the next, okay, let me just comment this. So handle missing values. All right, so the next transformation we can do, so we can actually do some business logic transformation, right? We can do some business logic transformation. So based on the price, we can look at, okay, what product is considered luxury, what products can considered mid, what product is considered budget or premium. Okay, so you can actually do things like this is what we call business logic transformations. Okay, when you're thinking of the business, okay, if I do this, how can this add value to the business? So when you want to analyze this now, it just makes things easier. Okay, we know what products are luxury products based on the price, right? We know what products are premium products based on the price. We know what products are low products or mid products based on the price. Okay, so let's do that. Sorry. So when you join the training program, we show you different ways you can transform your data. After handling all the main data cleaning, you can do some business logic transformation, which like can even create new, this is me just even creating something we call feature engineering, right? Creating new columns just to also help the business make better decisions, right? Give more insights. Okay. And then we want to, like I said, categorize the price based on how much you spend, like based on based on the price of that product. Okay, so we're going to create a new column. Okay, and the name of that column will be price category. Don't forget we're categorizing based on premium products, based on luxury products, based on budget products, based on mid products. Okay, so price category. Okay, price category. This is a new column we're creating right here. Okay, and then we're going to use what we call in pandas cuts. Okay, what we call cuts. Now, what does this do? It's just divides the data like into these categories that were already specified. Okay, so we're going to do pd dot cuts. Okay, pd dot cuts. Okay, so it's going to divide it into different bins. So I'm just going to address this. Okay, so starting with 0. So any product price that is between 0 and 50, that will be classified as probably budget. So let's use budget products. Okay, budget product. Any product that is any product price that is between 50 and 100, you can classify that as mid products. Okay, 50 and 100, we can classify that as mid products. Okay, and any products that is between, you can say 100 to 500, okay, you can classify that as premium. Okay, as premium. As premium. And lastly, we can add one more and say any products upward like from 500 or 1,000. Okay, 500, 1,000, or can just put 999 or 1,000, anyone. We can classify that as luxury. Okay, very high luxury. So luxury. Sorry. All right, so we're cutting this into 5 categories. Sorry, 4 categories, okay? Into 4 categories. This is how pandas cut works, okay? You categorize your data, okay? So now after doing this, we can still do one more transformation, okay? We can create a new column. We create another new column, okay? So we can create a new column. If I think we added the ratings, yeah. So if you look at the data, if you go to where you have rating, yeah, this is the rating. You see this rating is 2.56, which is kind of low actually. So if you look at another rating, I don't know if I can see it with this so much data, but yeah, just to show you, we can categorize the ratings to if ratings fall below this category, within this category, we classify them as low ratings. If it's classifies, if it classifies within this category, we can classify it as excellent or good or fair rating. Okay, this is also a business logic transformation. Okay, so create a new column for the rating category. Okay, you can also use cut for this. Okay, the same way we use cut, PD cut for the price category, but I won't be using PD cut for this. I'm going to show you another method. And this is the advantage when you join a training program. There are different ways you can actually work with Python. That's the beauty of it. Okay, there's no one method. So this same method, as you can see, we can actually do it. We can actually use cut also to do this, but I'm not going to use cut. I'm going to use a lambda function for this, and I'm going to show you now. Okay. Going to show you now. So I'm just going to clear this out. All right. So now to use the lambda function for this, what I'll do is don't forget we're creating a new column, right? So creating a new column. This column, we're getting it from the rating column. We want to create this column from the rating column. Okay. So rating. Okay. Dot apply. Okay. So there's something called lambda in Python. This is a very anonymous function, okay, that you can use to write a straightforward code. If you don't want to go into writing so much, just use lambda and everything is solved, okay? So lambda, okay, and x. So this x is representing each rating in our data, right? Each rating in our data. So I'm saying take the x. So if the rating, we want to classify the first one, excellent rating. Okay, the first rating, classify it as excellent if, so one special thing we're going to use here is what we call conditional statements. Conditional statements, okay? Conditional statement in Python is, for example, if you say, okay, maybe you want to leave the house and somebody's at home, or maybe rain is going to fall, and your clothes are outside, you're like, oh, please, if rain falls, pack my clothes. If rain does not fall, what happened? Else, leave it there, right? Leave my clothes outside. But if rain falls, pack my clothes. If something happens, do this. If this is this, do this. Else, do this. So that is exactly what conditional statements mean in Python. And that's what we're going to do here. Okay. So we're going to say, okay, this is, okay. So we're going to say if our rating falls between, maybe it's greater than 4.5 upward to 5, that will be excellent. Okay, so if x, don't forget x is representing each rating in our data. Okay, so if x is greater than or equal to 4.5, rate it as excellent. Okay, rate it as excellent. 4.5, rate it as excellent. Else, we want to give another condition. Else, rate is good if it's greater than 4.0 up to 4.5. Okay, if it's between 4.0 to 4.5, rate is good. Okay, so rate is good. Okay, you can say 4.0. Okay, else, I'm going to just remove all this. So we'll just maintain this. So else, rate the final one fair. Okay, fair rating. Okay, so we have 3 ratings, either excellent, good, or fair. So if it's from 4.0 below, it is fair. Okay, if it is 4.0 below, it is fair. Sorry. All right. So yes, we have just created another new column, okay, where we categorized our rating. So this alone can be used for insights, data-driven insights. Okay, make decisions based on our ratings, based on the product ratings. Okay, this is business logic transformation. All right, so this is transformation. This is just showing you how you can transform your data. So what I'm going to do next is something I call called metadata. Okay, metadata. So metadata is just data about your data. Okay, and this is actually crucial for data governance. I'm sure you've heard of data governance before, right? If you're in the data space. If you're not in the data space, data governance is you just ensuring data integrity, data quality, just making sure that, okay, this data is accessible or you're documenting this data properly, right? So metadata is data about your data, okay? Now what we want to do is create a column specifying the time which this data was processed and also where this data is coming from, the data source. So someone that is saying this data can, okay, this is where data is coming from, or this time this data was processed in the ETL, right? So I'm just going to do that quickly. So also creating a new column for that. Okay. So processed at is everybody still following? Let me just check in. Are we still following? If you're following, please give a 1. Okay, David. All right, EIO. All right, checks. All right. So let's continue. All right, so processed at, okay. Processed at, that's the time that this data was processed, okay? And that time will be the current time we run this pipeline. It will put that time in. So this is an automated process. So if another data runs, if another data is extracted, if new data is extracted and it's processed, it will put the time of when that data was processed at that time, okay? Of when data was processed at that time. And we're going to be using the date time that we imported before. So date time dot now. Okay, so that's now is like a function for getting like the current time now. Okay, date time dot now. Okay, and we want it to be in ISO format. Okay, .iso format. Okay, and then we'll also create a new column for the data source. df. Where's the data coming from? We want to document that. Data source. Okay. So data is coming from dummy JSON API. Okay, and that concludes our data transformation. Okay, so we can just do a print statement saying transformed data already. So now going into the loading aspects, okay, we want to now, this data we have processed, we want to convert it to CSV and load it into S3 buckets, right? Convert it and load it to S3 buckets. Okay, so let's do that. Okay, loading data to S3 buckets. Okay, so the first thing we want to do is to convert this to CSV. So CSV data, that's a variable name I'm assigning to it. So CSV data, we use df.csv. So you use underscore CSV when you want to convert your data to your data frame to a CSV file. Okay, and we don't want the index number to follow along. So we're saying index equal false. Okay, so after doing that, we want to also give our file name a unique name. Our CSV file name that we're going to upload to S3, we want to give it a unique name. Okay, and to do that, we use S3 underscore key. S3 underscore key. Okay, equal to. So we want to put products. So this is just you specifying the kind of name you want your file to have. Okay, so I'm saying products. Okay, underscore. So why are we doing this? When you have CSV files processed to the S3 buckets, okay, at different times, okay, you don't want to overwrite the existing one there, okay? So you're naming these files with the current time this CSV file landed in that bucket, S3 buckets. So if another one runs, if another data is extracted and loaded to the S3 bucket, it saves in that current time, in the second, the minute, the hour, that CSV file landed in the S3 bucket. So that's the beauty of this. Okay, that's why we're doing this. So we're going to use the date time also for this. Date time dot now, the same thing we did before. Okay. But the difference I'm going to use is we want to specify the exact hour, the exact minute, the exact second for the CSV file. Okay. So that's what we're going to do here. Time. Okay. So this is just a format that you use to write specify. Okay, I want the hour, I want the month, minutes, and I want the second to also be saved. Okay, so this should be in quotes. Don't make that mistake. It should be in quotes. Okay. So H is for the hour. Then you specify the minutes. Then you specify the second. So everything counts. So maybe if a file drops maybe 1 second now and 2 seconds later another file drops, it will save that minute, the hour, the second. It will save it and attach that file name like that. So you know the difference. You know when you just track the time of when this was processed, when this file was dropped. Okay. And then we'll specify .csv because this is a CSV file. CSV. All right, after doing that, we now want to do the main uploading, right? So we just specified converted to CSV or specifying the file name. Now we want to do the main upload, okay? And to do that, we do S3 dot put objects. Now what's the object? That's the CSV file. Put objects, okay? Put objects, and then you want to specify the bucket you are putting this object in, the key, which is this file name. The key is this file name, and then the body of the CSV, which is the CSV we converted before. Okay, so specifying the bucket. Okay, so what's our bucket name? What's our bucket name? Shopflow ETL. So these are our bucket name. So I'll copy that. Maybe I should have added buckets to it. So this will be in quotes also. Shopflow ETL. And then we'll specify the key. So take note, all these are in uppercase. If you notice the B is in uppercase, the K is in uppercase, okay? Then we'll specify the S3 and then the body, which is the CSV. All right, so this ends our loading bar. So we can just write a print statement for this. So print data loaded successfully. Okay, loaded data to S3, and then we can write a return. Normally, return works with defined function. Don't forget we define a function here. So we're returning, okay, if it's successful, return status code 200 and return data extracted, transformed, and loaded successfully. Okay, so now we can run this. So this is our pipeline. We did importing first, our libraries, then we extracted data from the API, transformed it, only the key columns are working with. Then we did some business logic transformations, then loaded the data to S3. Okay, so now we're going to deploy this. So deploying is you just like saving the file, saving the code. Okay, so you can test it. Okay, for deploying, you can now test out your pipeline. Okay, so that has been, so now we can test out this pipeline. Let's test it. So I'll just click on test or using the default event name there. Okay, showing. Okay, I think there's an error, lambda function. Okay. So you see, this is the advantage of like just having logs where you can look at. So let's go back to our code. So I think there's a mistake somewhere. So let's correct that. Okay, so it should be here. Don't think we have the dot there. So we did not put dot there. So let's deploy this again since we have made some changes. That's just, so now we can test again. So just, okay, successful. So you see it has returned status code 200 and we have extracted data, transformed, loaded successfully. So let's check our bucket, S3 bucket, if we have our data there. Oh, beautiful. So you see, it just saved the date and the time, okay? And then this is the CSV. All right, so now let's move on to the next phase. Since we've tested our pipeline and we can see that it is working fine. Okay, now we want to connect this, we want to make this data queryable directly in S3 bucket. That's the beauty of Antenna, right? So Antenna is, you can query this data directly in S3 buckets, okay? Can query it directly in S3 buckets. Okay, so what we're going to do is we want to create a database and a table, okay, that can make this data queryable for us, okay? And to do that, we don't want to start creating data manually. We don't do things manually anymore, okay? So we want to use the AWS Glue crawler to crawl the data in S3 buckets and create our table automatically, and then we can query it in Antenna, okay? So the same thing you just do, you just can search for it. I'll just search for it actually. So crawlers. Okay, so it's the AWS Glue feature. So I'll just open it in a new tab. All right. So now this is the interface for a crawler. Okay, it connects to your AWS, crawls the data there, gets what it does is that it gets the schema of your data and create your table for you automatically. So you don't have to be writing create table, schema, this, no. It will crawl your data, read your data, get the schema automatically, and create your table automatically that you can query from. Okay, so let's create crawler. So we're going to give it a name, Shopflow crawler. So we can use, yeah, Shopflow crawler. Okay, so you can also give it a description. And we'll click on next. Now we want to connect it. Don't forget about our data is in S3 bucket. So we want to connect this caller to our S3 bucket. So we have to set up a data source. So we're going to click add a data source. Okay, leave it as S3 bucket, S3. And then we'll specify the path to our S3, right? So we say browse. Okay, so where's our bucket? So this is our bucket. I'll just click on this and click choose. Okay, choose. And then leave this as it is, then add S3 data source. So now I've added our data source, our data path to the S3, and then click on next. Okay, the same way we created row for Lambda, it's the same way we'll create a row here, but of course I already did that. I'll just select from the row I created before, okay? So I have so many rows I created for it. So this was the same process we did for creating Lambda row. So you just create a row and you see your row here. So I have a row here that I've created for Glue specifically. So I'll click on that and click on next. Okay, so now we want to choose a database. So you can let's create a new database. So to create a new database, or you can pick from the one you already have before. So I'll just create a new database just to show you how we're doing it. So we can give our database a name, Shopflow DB. Okay, you can also give it a description. Okay, and just click create database. So now this is, you can see the database here. Okay, so now we can go back to this, refresh, and then our database is showing here. Okay, so I'll click that, and then we leave this on demand and click on next. So everything is set, and we can click create column. Okay, so once our crawler is created, we can now click run crawler. Okay, run this crawler and to crawl our data in S3 buckets. Okay, so I'm going to wait for it to run. It's starting. Okay, so it's still running, it's still running, it's still running. It's still running. Okay, so while we wait for that, let's have a bit of interactive session. So is anybody familiar with Redshift? AWS Redshift. If you're familiar, just give a 1. Okay, Sharon. All right, can you tell me the difference between antenna from what I explained and what you know on Redshift? The difference between antenna and Redshift. Okay, I don't know. Is it possible to, you can just type it, or you can, I don't know if you can unmute. Probably, you can just type it. Okay, while we wait, okay? Let's see. Let me see if I can unmute you. Okay. You can just type it if you can't unmute. Okay, I'll just check back. All right, let's see if okay, this is completed. So let's check. All right, so we're going to check our databases. Click on this database. Sorry. All right, you can see that our table has been created. Okay, so what you just do is click on, to view the data, you click on this table, and it will tell you, you'll be taken to antenna to preview your data. Okay, be charged separately for your queries. So we just click proceed. Okay. All right, beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. So just look at our data. Just look at our data. Out of this messy data, can you just look at our data? We have the ID, we have the title, we have the price, the rating, the stock, the brand, the category, the price. Now look at the price category. This is the new column we created. This column was not there before, but we added this new column based on the price. So budget, mid, even for the ratings, based on the rating, we have fair, excellent. And then this is the processed art we created. So this is the exact time this data was processed, and then the data source data that is coming from. So if you have data coming in from multiple sources, this is why this data source column is very, very important. So you see, just look at our data. So probably let's look at, you can write one query, SQL query. In fact, when you join the program, we teach you from everything from Python, writing SQL queries, everything you need to know. So let's write a query. Let's write a query just to run this. Okay, so probably want to see, want to do like a product category kind of, based on the new column we added. So let's get insight for that. So we say select, okay, price category. We're selecting the price category column, okay. And then we want to count all our products. Okay, we're trying to look at a price category analysis, okay. Let's look at price category analysis, just to give us more insight into what products fall under this range or what products fall under this range, okay. So we can say count all, okay, counting all as products, okay. And then we can also take an average price just to look at the average price of each, okay. Average price as our average price. All right, and then you can also do the same for ratings. What's the average rating? Average rating, okay, as average rating. AVG rating. okay? And then we're selecting our table, okay? What's our table name? So if you come here, find our table name. So let me just, our table name is shop flow ETL, okay? Shop flow ETL. So this is our table. Okay, shop flow ETL. And then we'll group by our price category. So group by is when you also want to group the same value together, and it just gives you more. So we just group our price category and then order by the average price. Order by average price that we created. All right, so let's run this. Okay, getting an error. Count on. Okay, let me just bring this. I'm missing a comma. Okay, let me run that again. All right, beautiful. So this is just giving insight to, you see, we have the budget, we have more products falling under the budget. We have average price of 9.8 and average ratings of 3.8, okay? For luxury, we just have like one product, okay? So yeah, this is just we just built like an end-to-end data pipeline, okay? Using AWS services, okay? And the good thing about this is that this is a portfolio worthy project, and this is something we do in Analytics. Okay, we work with different cloud platforms. We teach you. This is just like a foundation to build any data pipeline, okay? And this can apply to like companies, working at companies, real world projects, okay, real world data pipelines. So just know that every company needs data engineers who can understand patterns like this, okay? Extracting data, transforming it, loading it, knowing what to do, okay? And this is what we're going to do. We'll help you to build this up, you learn it, and give you the full implementation, okay? So what we've done is a full end-to-end, and this can be automated, okay? So, yeah, that's it for me. So, okay, let me see I think I asked the question before. Okay, I can see somebody's response. Okay, Akinyemi said, antenna is for ad hoc analysis for querying data directly in S3, while Redshift is a dedicated data warehouse service. Yes, that's correct. Okay, Shimon says Redshift is a warehouse, like BigQuery and Snowflake, while Antenna is a query service. Correct. You see, that's why we could query our data directly in S3 buckets. But if you want to create a data warehouse, you use the Redshift, okay? So thank you. I really enjoyed this session. I hope everyone enjoyed this session, right? So I want to see everyone in class. If you really want to get into data engineering, cloud platforms, do not take this for granted, all right? So thank you, everyone, and bye for now. Hi, you can, let me just stop sharing.
Taiwo, that was a very fantastic session. That was very, very, insightful. I saw the look on your face, how we lit up when our table came out of, finally out of that messiness. And that's exactly what happens when, you're a data engineer, and then the final result is you can come up with, a table, a database that is very structured, So that just goes on to show the efficiency of a data, engineer. Okay, that goes on to show their importance. So in the data space, generally, they are so important that without the data engineers, it's absolutely maybe not impossible, but it's so difficult for you to get a data analyst to get a structured data to be able to use and start to analyze, because then you need a data engineer to first set up that database for you, set up that table for you, format it correctly for you. And also even the data scientists, they will struggle to be able to train a data okay, if the data is not even, very structured, clean, and in the right format. So this is how, this is how important a data engineer is, okay? And then, because of this level of importance, it's a career path where you don't want to worry about, am I going to get a job? Okay, because apart from the fact that it's so important, right? Data engineers are literally not so the numbers out there, it's not so large. So there is such a market for data engineers. If you're looking to get into that space, the market is very, very, very rare. We don't have enough data engineers. We have more data engineering roles than we have data engineers to fill in those roles for. So like she was saying, she wants to see everyone in class. Okay, so how about I just, let me go ahead and share my screen and walk you through how what are other things that you need to understand, before you make a decision. Okay, is this really the right, path for me? Okay, as a data engineer, what are the things that I'm going to be learning? What are the tools? What are the skills that I'm going to be learning? Okay, to be able to achieve all of these things, right? And what happens is here at Analytics, we have, a couple of programs that we train people, and we help people to get into the tech space. Okay. So we have 8 different programs. And before we selected any of our programs here at Analytics, what we did was we went ahead to scrape all the top job boards out there. We're trying to get a hang on the most performing jobs, the jobs that are highest in demand. All right. And then when we got all of these top job boards, we filtered all of these job boards through 3 major lenses. So every of the jobs, every of the career paths, rather. So every career path that you are going to be looking to want to, transition into, you want to learn. For example, data engineering that we just spoke about. We have other programs here at Analytics like data science, like I was saying earlier, data analytics, and a host of others. Now, all of these programs that we offer here at Analytics, they have 3 major characteristics. They have 3 things in common. Number one, they are easy to learn. So they are very, very easy to learn. The second one is they're easy to transition into. What that means is this: you do not necessarily need to have a tech background. So you don't have to have studied computer science in school or computer engineering for you to transition into these roles. These roles are easy to transition into because you can absolutely, start your learning, and then you will be able to pick up every knowledge and skill that you need to get the job done as either a data engineer or a data scientist, and you don't even have to have gone to school and get a degree to be able to land a job in this. All right. And finally, the third characteristics is this: all programs that we offer at Analytics, they have a high rewarding salary. And I'm going to assume that that's one, that's one thing that people are looking for. They want a job that can, give them that, rewarding salary. And all of our training programs here at Analytics, the minimum threshold salary meets the threshold that is set by the UK government for COS. So if you're in the UK, you're looking for a job that can help you land that sponsorship, that you can get that COS right there. There is a threshold. There is a threshold limit that your job has to be able to pay you. And that's over like 38,500 pounds. But I think lately, it has been increased to over 40,000 pounds. Right. And all our training programs here at Analytics, all right, they actually do meet that threshold. So you can come in for any program at Analytics, and you can be sure that you can land a job that will give you a COS. Now, the next thing is this: we did an external validation. All of this I'm going through is just to help us see the work we've put in the back end to make sure to expose you to the truth about this program, so that you have a solid rock foundation that, okay, what I'm trying to get into is very, very worth it. Okay, so these are not just gimmicks. So we've gone ahead to do what we call the external validation. We went to the World Economic Forum. Okay, and then the WF is actually a professional body that releases the reports of, the future of jobs. Okay, and then they let you know the jobs that are going to be high in demand, the jobs that are going to be increasing over the next couple of years, the jobs that are going to be decreasing, in demand over the next couple of years. And what we were able to find out was the fastest growing jobs, okay, was the big data specialists, the fintech engineers, the AI and machine learning specialists, software and application developers, security management specialists, data warehousing specialists. These are like the top 6. All right. You can see that big data specialist, which is the number 1 on the list, it's actually a group of tech roles. And we have the data engineers, we have the data scientists, and we have the data analysts that makes up the big data specialist. So, like I was saying earlier, data engineer is such a high in demand role. Okay, so if that's something that you needed some clarity about, so this is a role that is so much high in demand. All right, now if you're telling me that, like, because I know that someone might have this question in mind, that if you're telling me that, okay, this role is high in demand, okay, now how can I get into this role? Okay, do I need to get some certification somewhere? Okay, you've told me that I don't need to have a BSc in this, right? But how do I get into this space? Now, the job market has absolutely shifted, and the barrier to getting into the tech space has actually been lowered. Earlier this year, Elon Musk, the richest man in the world, made a tweet. Okay, and the company was looking for, engineers, software developers. Okay, and Elon Musk reached out and said that, we need people, and we don't even care where you went to school. We don't even care what school you went to, or we don't even care if you have worked at any big name company. Okay, just show us your code. Just show us your code. Now, we all know Elon Musk, the richest man in the world. We all know how busy he is, and we all know, the kind of things that he runs, the project, the iStick project that he runs. All right, and we know that he's not going to want to invite anybody with low work ethics, somebody who isn't, measuring up to standard, and have them work, at his company. So when he actually put out this tweet, he absolutely shifted the job market, seeing that the job market now no longer is keen on your certification. Okay, it has shifted from a certificate-based system to a skill-based system. So now recruiters are actually just worried about your project, your experience, what you have done before, as to not giving, so much concentration to your certifications. They don't really care what, piece of paper you bring in to show that you know something. They need to see, that you have done this before. And this is where I get to engage us, because I want us to see how the barrier to, getting into the tech space has been absolutely lowered. Okay, and this is just a very, very common sense engagement conversation that I'm going to be having with us right now. Okay, so I'm going to be asking a question very soon, and I'll need us to drop an answer in the chat. I will be asking us a question very soon, and I'll need us to drop an answer in the chat. Now, here comes the question. Let's assume you're looking to travel, and in the morning you wake up, you've got your bags packed. You got into your car, you turn the ignition engine on, all right, and then the car won't start. And then you have a trip that you have to make, and you are in a hurry. Now, you have 2 mechanics that you could choose from to help you fix your car. The first mechanic, all right, is a first-class graduate from Harvard University. Okay, but he does not have a mechanic showroom. He does not have some sort of artifacts to show you that these are the cars that I've worked on. These are the cars, these are the tools that I've used. All he has to show you is a certificate that he, has a first-class degree from Harvard University. But on the other hand, you see this experienced mechanic, you could call him a roadside mechanic, but he has a show, he has a mechanic shop. You can see some of the cars that he has worked on, Benz, Aston Martin, Range Rover, okay? But he does not have a degree. He does not have a bachelor's degree, okay? So here you are in a fix. You're looking to make your journey in a hurry. which of these mechanics are you most likely to, call for the repair of your car? Are you calling the first class graduate from Harvard or this roadside experienced mechanic? So if you want to go for the first class graduate, I want you to drop a this in the chat. But if you want to go for the experienced mechanic, I want you to drop a that in the chat. I'm really trying to get into our mindset here and try to see, let us see what exactly the old job market is like, what it has turned to. Okay. So now if you heard my question, if you are looking to, make your trip and you want to go for the first class graduate to help you fix your car, I want you to drop a this in the chat. But if you want to go for the experienced roadside mechanic, kindly drop a that in the chat. So let's keep that coming in. Let's keep that coming in. I can see a that though. I'm seeing another that. All right. So that keeps coming in. Okay. All right. So all right. So I think we have those dots coming in right there. So most people on this call, they are going to go for the experienced roadside mechanic, okay? And if you will go for an experienced roadside mechanic over a first class, graduate from Harvard, okay, so also will a recruiter go for a professional that has hands-on experience, a professional that has skills, a professional that has a portfolio that they can walk the recruiter through how they actually get the job done. Okay, so that is the idea. The whole idea of getting into the tech job space right now is this. First of all, identify the program that works for you. First of all, identify the program that is the best fit for you. Then get into a structured learning environment. You don't want to learn alone. You don't want to go out and start learning off of free courses on YouTube or Udemy. As much as those have their advantages, but if you're looking to get into the tech space, especially for the first time, you don't have any prior degree, any prior experience in tech. If you're looking to learn a particular tech skill, you want a structured approach to your learning. What do I mean? You need a community, you need a mentor, or you need mentors. Okay. And you need all of this. And you also need to get, a project-based approach to your learning. All of this would help you to be able to, establish your feet in that space. Okay. Because there's a lot of challenges that come when you're trying to learn. It's not, you don't want to know what the statistics, of people that try to, get into the tech space by absolutely doing self-learning, and then dropping at the middle. The statistics is staggering. People literally more than half, okay, of the people that actually go online to take a particular tech skill, okay, do not finish their training. And I'm sure that we have people on this session that you've tried to learn something online, YouTube, Udemy, Coursera, and you didn't even finish. You started, but you didn't finish. There's a lot of reasons for that. You need a structured approach, okay? You need a community, okay? And you need accountability, all right? And all of that is what we provide here at Tenalytics. All of that is what we provide at Tenalytics. So now, what is the complete data engineering toolkit that you need to land a job in 2025? Okay, this is where we get to know exactly what we are going to be learning, the tools that you are going to be exposed to. If this is something that, okay, is meant for you, we will be finding out right now. Now, what are the tools that you need to learn? Now, before I continue, there is an attendance form that is being passed in the chat. Okay, now if you need the access to the resources for this session, okay, the recording for the entire session where my colleague, right, Taiwo, was actually showing us how we could build all those data pipelines, the extract, transform, and load through Python and SQL in AWS. If you need all of these resources, all you have to do is fill in the attendance form that is passed in the chat. Fill in the attendance form that is passed in the chat, and then you'll be able to get access to all of these recordings and the resources. Now, As a data engineer, these are the tools that you need. These are the tools that you need. These tools will get you the job. Number one, when you come into the program, the way we're going to be teaching you is this. We're going to start you off first with introduction to data engineering, because at Analytics, we have a very beginner's approach to learning. Okay, so we are going to be walking you through everything you need to know from the beginner's level all the way to the intermediate level and the master's level. So after we introduce you to data engineering, you go into SQL, which is the short form for structured query language. All right. Now, SQL is the language of the database. That is the language you use to query a database. That is the language you use to set up a database. Okay. Earlier, we saw when Taiwo was actually using SQL to, to query that data, that CSV data that we actually exported to the bucket. All right. You will learn how to be able to do all of that when you come into the program. Now, Python programming. Now, this is very, very, very important. If you're somebody that you feel like you don't mind learning Python, you're somebody who you feel like you've already been exposed to Python, you're someone where you feel like, okay, maybe I know just a little bit of Python, but if I can get someone to teach me very well, I don't mind. Then data engineering also is something that is actually still meant for you. But we have some people who do not even like Python whatsoever. They have this phobia for Python or for coding. Now, if you belong to that class, of people, then the data analytics might be a good place for you to start your journey. It's a very fantastic career path to the data analytics. Like I said, it's one of the, the big data specialists. We have three of them: the data engineers, the data scientists, and the data analysts. So if you're somebody who you feel like you're not so into coding, all right? You're not so into coding. If you feel like, I think, 1 second, please. All right. I think I should be good now. All right. So if you're somebody who feels like they're not literally into or you're into coding, you don't really want to stress with coding, then you can come in for our data analytics program. Now, after Python, we'll be teaching you Linux operating system. Okay. And then we're going to be teaching you how to build custom ETL pipelines. So just something very similar to what Taiwo was doing earlier today. All right, the extract, the transform, and load. So how do you connect with databases so that you can extract information from there? How do you connect, to an entire web framework, websites? How do you connect using their APIs? Then how can you scrape, information off of a website using, Python libraries like Beautiful Soup and things like that? We're going to teach you how to do all of that. Then Apache Spark, Apache Airflow for your data pipeline automation. Okay, so everything that you see that Tyler was doing earlier, you can actually put it on automation. You want to be able to automate your ETL, processes without you doing anything. All of this Apache Airflow does that for you. Then cloud engineering. So you'll also be learning how to, get into some cloud engineering. So we are learning GCP, you're learning Azure, you're learning AWS. All right. Second. Okay, so I think I'm good now. All right, so you're learning GCP, you're learning Azure, you're learning AWS. All right. Now we have you also be learning GitHub for version control. So version control as to where you ship out a particular model of a pipeline or a particular model of a function, and then you feel like okay, you can actually do better, and then you actually have another version. Okay, but you want to still keep the previous version, so you learn to use GitHub for version control. Then ChatGPT, GitHub, and GitHub, Copilot. So these are all the things that you will be exposed to in the program. These are all the things that you'll be exposed to in the program. All right. And then let me just show you an example of, a data engineering portfolio. So when you come into the program, you will be exposed to a project-based learning. You're learning by working on projects and projects and projects. And when you're done with your program, what you want to do is you want to take all your projects and put them in a portfolio and host your portfolio, on GitHub or on any web, framework. So this is an example of a data engineering portfolio. Okay, so you put every data pipeline, that you've worked on and all of these things. This is something that will help you to be able to achieve when you are done with the program. So you can see here, these are different projects. This is a smart city infrastructure. This is an e-commerce retail, right? This is a financial service project, all of this. So imagine you walking your recruiter through your portfolio and it looks just like this. Imagine how fantastic that is, all right? So that is something that you will also be able to get access to. Now, what happens is at Analytics, we know that the reason why people are looking to join the program is because they want to land a job. And we have the job equation formula for everyone here at Analytics. It is the technical skills plus the employability services that will land you the job. Okay. So now everything I've been saying earlier, they are the technical skills, Python, SQL, but what about the employability skills that get you the job? So CV review will help you to be able to review your CV and help you teach you how you can tailor your CV to the jobs that you're applying to so that you can get an interview. Okay. Then we're going to actually help you with LinkedIn optimization. All right. So your LinkedIn needs to be optimized such that you will be able to be found by recruiters online. Okay. Then we have the navigating the job market. All right. Then navigating the job market is where we help you to be able to, in your job hunt phase. Okay, a lot of our students, they enjoy this part because we will be sending you premium jobs to apply to. So at Analytics, we have subscribed to some paid job boards so that our students can get access to premium jobs to apply to. This will further increase your chances of landing a role. So we'll be sending you, jobs to apply to. We will not leave all that job on phase all to you by yourself. We will be helping you by, sending you jobs that are premium, and then you can apply to those jobs. And when you land an interview, we will be preparing you for that interview before you go in for the actual interview. All right. Then we have the job reference letter when you need one. Okay. Then we have the on-the-job support, which is also still available. Then we have the weekly mentorship session. So every week you will be having mentorship. Okay. So from Thursdays and Fridays, you're going to be having your CV review sessions, your LinkedIn optimization sessions. We will be bringing professionals to help you, to train you, to mentor you, on a weekly basis. That way you can get a grasp of the job market, you can get a grasp of the entire tech space, and you know what you are doing. Now, this is where I get to tell us some of the success stories that we have. Okay, so and if these people can do it, you can also. All right, so for the first person here, we can see Michael. Michael came in for our data engineering program and he landed a job as a sales engineer in a software company in the UK. All right, now see the next person, Idris. Idris Adebisi got a full-time job with Jaguar Land Rover in the UK as a data engineer after training with us. Imagine how fantastic that is. He's currently on the second role as a senior analytics engineer. So this is somebody that is just climbing the ladder after joining our program. All right. So these are things that you want to be able to you will have access to when you join the program. Now we also have you can see Joel here. Joel was a Joel was a chemical engineer. All right. He joined our data engineering program and he landed a role as a data engineer working remotely. Okay. So you want to understand that this kind of, this kind of career paths, they offer you that much needed flexibility whenever it is that, you get a job. So you don't have to always be on site. Okay. As a tech professional, okay, most likely have that flexibility to be able to work from the comfort of your house. And a data engineering, career path is just known specifically for that. Okay, that remoteness. Okay, you will be able to get a lot of remote jobs as a data engineer. This is another person, Idris Adebisi. All right, and we see that people, time after time, they are landing roles with, that are coming with full visa sponsorship after joining the program. Now, the next steps, what should you do now to thrive in 2025? All right. What is the next? How can you join the community? How can you join the program? Now, we are currently running our next cohort, right, resumes for the 9th of August. Our next cohort is resuming for the 9th of August. All right. And then for you to join us, the entire program is an 8 months program. It's an 8 months program. 6 months of in-class training. You'll be learning for 6 months, and then the 2 months of internship. Okay, so we partner with another company, and then you'll be able to get internship experience from this company. And then what happens is the entire program originally cost $900. Okay, but for this August cohort that's going to be starting in a couple of weeks, we are running a special discount. Okay, so if you can join the first 200 people to make payments, you'll be paying just $750 instead of 900. Just 750 instead of 900, and you can pay in installments. So the 750 doesn't have to be just a one-time payment. Okay, you can spread the payment over a 5 periods, of installments, and pay, monthly, where you're paying, $150 every month for 5 months. Okay, that's how you can go ahead and join the community. I'm going to show us very quickly how we can make payments. Okay, like I said, this is a first come, first serve basis. So if you want to join the community and get started, okay, you want to grab the slot right now and make payments. So that way you can be able to benefit from the discount that is currently going on. Once we have the first 200 people, the discount goes away. So it's a first come, first serve basis. Now, my colleague is going to be sending a link into the chat right now. The link is going to bring you to this enrollment center where you can select your program and make payments. How do you do that? Click on register for DE. So you see here it says data engineering. Click on register for DE. All right. And then when you click on that, it's going to take you to where you can actually, select the installmental plan that, would work best for you. So 1 second while my screen loads up. All right now. So I think we are all loaded up. So what you want to do now is, let's assume you want to be very flexible. You want to pay, 5 times. All you want to do is scroll all the way down, select 5 monthly payments, okay? Then select secure your seats. Now, this is in dollars. Now, wherever you're joining this call from, Nigeria, the US, the Canada, the pricing will be displayed in the local currency. It's an automatic, geolocation on the website so that you can pay in your local currency. But I'm using USD for illustration. So click on 5 monthly payments, click on secure your seats, click on proceed. All right, then you can put in your information here and pay for products. Now, this is going to be the most important part when you're done making payments, okay? When you're done making payments, a receipt will be sent into your email. It's a payment confirmation. You want to go into your email, take a screenshot of that receipt, all right? And then come back to this landing page right here, this landing page, and then scroll to the middle. You see where it says upload your receipt here. Go ahead and click on this, and you can upload your receipts, all right? And that way we can confirm on our own end, and then that way you will, be locked in with the discounts. Okay, and then once you're done paying, you would have a team member reach out to you, send you your welcome toolkit and a link to onboard you for the program starting on the 9th of August. Okay, so right now I'm going to let us go ahead and start to grab those discounted slots because they get exhausted very, very quickly. They get exhausted very, very quickly. Okay, so now we can see that the data engineering, we have just 9 seats left. Okay, just 9 seats left. So on this call, I'm going to have people that are going to be making payments. Okay, so the link is already being sent in the chat by my colleague. Just go ahead and click on that link. Go ahead and click on that link, and then you can go onto the payments page and then make payment. Okay, you can go onto the payment page and make payments. All right. So I think we have we have what we need now. We have the information and then we have the link to make payments. Okay. So right now we've come to the end of the session. If you have any question regarding, the structure of the program, whatever clarity you need right now, you can go ahead and drop a message for me in the chat, and I will do my best to give you clarity and answers to your question. Okay. The session. So what's the question? If you have a question, please go ahead and drop it in the chat. So if you have a question, please go ahead and drop it in the chat. If not, all you want to do is you want to fill in the attendance form, and then you want to also, go ahead, take advantage of this opportunity right now, lock in your spot by making payment. Okay. So any question, if you have a question, drop it in the chat. We're about to, bring the session to an end. So any question before we bring this session to an end? Any questions? Please do well to fill in the attendance form and do well to grab the link and, lock in your spot as soon as you can. We cannot wait to have you join the community here at Analytics. So any question before we bring this to a close? I think we're about just being done. Okay, all right then. So I think we don't have any questions. So thank you everyone for joining this session tonight. Okay, we're looking forward to seeing you join the program for the 8th of August. Thank you so much. Cheers and bye for now. Yes, please fill in the attendance form. Please fill in the attendance form before you go. Thank you very much.